Good evening and welcome to TVM's X-Men podcast. I'm your host, Guy Jesper Braithwaite. Hello. And with me, of course, is Callie.
Hello.
And, of course, Rory.
Good evening. I liked how how like you remembered the TVM thing and then forgot that it was an X-Men podcast.
Yeah.
We do so many of them.
Full disclosure, I'm hanging.
And this wasn't our initially scheduled recording, so you can be forgiven, to be fair.
I can, yes, because I nearly said Power Rangers. Oh, said it.
Well, for the benefit of anyone watching this on YouTube, we were originally scheduled to do the Power Rangers one today, but because of three of our team being unable to make it, we figured we'd push it back to next week. So if you're watching this expecting a Power Rangers episode, well, you just have to wait. I'm not sorry.
Not much more we can do about it. You're just going to have to wait.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. But for all you X-Men fans out there, hello.
It's your lucky night.
Hello, and you're very welcome.
Okay, so tonight on the show, we are going to discuss the movies.
Yep.
Yay.
Or boo in some cases.
Well, it starts off as a yay, and then you lose all motivation as you get through the series. You sort of go, yeah, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean, echoing that, I remember I went to see The Last Stand 4 times at the cinema to try and work out if I liked it.
Oh.
Wow, that's a waste of money.
To be fair, each one was a date with a different lady.
Layer. Oh.
Yeah. To be fair, the reason why it was with a different one each time was because every time it was, oh, what's that? Just shut up, I'm trying to watch the fucking film.
Yeah.
Who's that? Oh, God, we are so over.
The first one, right, I swear down, was this girl who genuinely, I don't know how it happened, but she was acting like everything was real that was on the screen. And so, like, Wolverine's, like, showing a little bit of metal through his face. He's like, oh, no, don't you know? It's like, what the fuck? So that was an instant, right, I need to watch this again without that influence there because I didn't enjoy the film assuming it was that. So went with someone else, and then she was like, so who's that? Just fucking watch it.
Yeah. All will be explained if you watch and shut up.
And then, yeah, it was just one of those. And then I still don't think I liked it, but I don't think I hated it. Just don't think I liked it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes, let's talk about the first one. By the first one, are we going to talk about the 2000 X-Men film or the mid-90s Generation X film?
Oh, no. Fuck the Generation.
Yeah.
Have you both seen Generation
X? I saw
X?
it, and it was...
No.
It was a film.
It was
a film.
We don't have any proper decent special effects departments, but let's see what we can do anyway.
Yeah. We have a budget that consists of about the price of a Greg's pasty. Here's your costumes.
Ooh,
was it
Play-Doh. Play-Doh for stretchy skin. Let's do that.
Yeah. Oh God.
Which,
trying to forget it.
Oh God. No, the original film. Let's go with the original. The first.
I like Banshee with the least convincing Irish character on a film ever.
Oh God, yeah, their interpretation of Banshee.
And Emma Frost wore too many clothes.
Yeah.
Well,
which sounds sexist, but not when you look at the character and the source material. Yeah. And then you start.
First Class got it closer.
Yeah, to be fair. Yeah. So. So yeah, let's ignore that then.
2000s film, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Me, I enjoyed it.
I loved it.
I did. I thought it was pretty damn good. Coming off the back of the cartoon series and seeing those characters in live action for the first time, definitely was like, oh shit, definitely hit home.
Salute to the Jackman.
Oh yes.
You know, one of the cool things about that was when I interviewed Cal Dodd for the channel the other year, he was talking. And Foley's Law, you can check that out over on the Team Venom Media YouTube channel, which this very video is on. Unless you're listening to us on Spotify, when you can find us also on Spotify on the Team Venom Media. It's part of the Talking Trash season. I think it was season 3. There we go.
I believe it was, yes.
Anyway, thanks, Guy. Yeah, so what he was saying was basically he spoke to Hugh Jackman when the casting had been sorted and when Hugh Jackman was going to be doing the role, and he said that Hugh Jackman had specifically been told to listen to Cal Dodd, and that's the sort of energy that you need to bring, because a lot of fans, that's their version of Wolverine. That's who they hear when they read a comic, all that sort of stuff, which is true, because we're saying that Jackman's done all these films for like the last 2 decades. It's still Cal Dodd that I hear when I'm reading an X-Men comic.
Same.
Yeah, same.
So, it's one of those where, I mean, my brain sort of disconnects Jackman's Wolverine to the comic book and the animated Wolverine, because there are a lot of differences, but I think that Jackman's Wolverine is a very, very fucking good Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
character.
Yeah, and Cal was also saying that he went to one of the when Hugh Jackman did the live tour the other year, where he was going on and doing songs from some of his films and things like that. Oh, yeah. He also at one point busts out some Wolverine claws and all that lot on stage. But when he was thanking people, he thanked Cal Dodd at those shows because of his influence on his character, which is awesome.
Oh, so. That's cool. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, but I think that version of Wolverine was awesome. The way that they introduced him. I mean, I just thought the whole thing that they did with Logan throughout that film was great.
Yeah, agree.
I do like the introduction of Wolverine at that bit where they're doing the cage fights.
Yes.
And the microphone guy leans to the guy who's going to fight him. He goes, "Don't kick him in the balls." He's like, "I thought you said anything goes." Yeah, but he'll take it personally.
Yeah.
I love it as well.
That is something you would expect from Wolverine. It's like, yeah, you can do pretty much anything you want, but kick him in the balls.
Yeah.
Line crossed.
I know the thing is as well, a lot of more modern comic book fans who've let's say come into comics over the last 10 years or so, if they started to watch that film now, there's a lot of shit that they would be confused by the fact that, like, Wolverine, for example, up until about 15 years ago, Wolverine was suffering with amnesia and stuff, and didn't know any of his past before becoming an X-Men. Well, they're escaping Weapon X, which was months before becoming an X-Men. So, but you know what I mean. Whereas for the last 15 years in the comics, he's had all his memories back, and it's no longer been one of those things that defines him. And yeah, so if you're a modern X-Men fan that started with, if you started with any of the stuff in the last 15 years, Logan's got all his memories. And if you went back and watched this movie, you just like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
But I thought it was really good how they dealt with all that, especially when it got to X-Men 2 and they had all the elements of Weapon X and things like that there. I enjoyed the first couple of films immensely. And yeah. What did you both think to the lineup for the first X-Men film?
Good. I would have liked Kitty Pryde. If I had to really nitpick. But apart from that,
I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked them to have used Rogue better than they did.
Yeah.
Like,
I think they were sort of pigeonholed, though, weren't they, because of the rights for the powers, because all of the 90s powers came from Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
so it was who fans aren't even going to remember as Warbird or Miss Marvel, because, again, the MCU's only introduced her as Captain Marvel. Whereas, obviously, in the comics in the 80s, Rogue absorbed Miss Marvel's powers and had that whole power set, and that's what she was like in the 90s.
That happened in the cartoon as well.
Yeah, because she was already in that state when it begins. She's already got the flight, the super strength.
They do the flashback, and it shows you that happening.
Because of the whole thing of Miss Marvel's psyche living inside her, which is awesome.
Yeah. I think the way the film handled Rogue was they really just stuck her as the damsel in distress, red herring plot device kind of thing. Like up until about halfway through the film, you think Magneto's after Wolverine for some reason.
Yeah.
And then gets there and it's like, no, he's after the girl. It's like, oh yeah, because of her powers, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it all just kind of just was too much of a cliche for me. I would have liked to have seen the film, even in the second and third film, she's not in it all that much. And coming off the back of the animated series and going into the movie series, it's like this character that was so prominent is basically reduced to window dressing in the background.
Yeah.
That was just my feeling on Rogue. Sabretooth, though, I did like how they treated Sabretooth in the first film.
Yes.
Yeah.
His look was, to me, what you would think of when you think of Sabretooth.
Just want to throw out as well, that actor, Tyler Mane, was one of the very first, well, probably second guest that we had on this channel 8 years ago.
Nice.
And he was absolutely awesome. Fun fact, he actually wrestled Andre the Giant for WCW.
Oh, wow.
But he mainly did loads of
Andre the
untelevised dark
Giant,
matches.
WCW.
He was there very briefly.
Must have been.
Very, very briefly, according to that, unless I'm getting it confused. I'm sure it was a very, very, very brief thing.
Or do you mean the Giant as in Paul White, as in Big Show?
No, he actually wrestled Andre.
Oh.
Unless it was something like WCCW, something like that.
Gonna say.
Let me just Google it, just so I can find it, Jake, because I might be remembering this shit wrong as well. So,
welcome to the pro wrestling section of the X-Men podcast.
Yeah. To be fair, we're talking about a pro wrestler that became Sabretooth, so it's okay.
It's relevant.
It all comes back to wrestling. Damn it!
It's relevant.
Yeah. Oh dear. What about the pictures of the match? Where the hell was it?
We'll edit this part.
Nah, it's fine. Here we go. I'm on a website called Blog of Doom, and it's Andre the Giant and Giant Barber versus Land of the Giants, which includes Tyler Mane, and that. That was WCW Saturday Night. That's what it says on here. It might be wrong, but
there you go.
Because the internet's never wrong.
I know.
Yeah, of course not.
This is it. So, answers on a postcard, please.
Yeah,
Send them into the usual address and let us know what the actual facts are, because I'm pretty fucking clueless on this at the moment. But anyway, so Tyler Mane was awesome as one of those guests. But yeah, back to what you were saying, Callie, he was a ridiculously good Sabretooth, especially the look and the general attitude.
Yeah.
So
the bit with Storm where he drags his claw down her face and says, "Scream for me."
Yeah.
Just the way he says that, it's like, that is Sabretooth at his absolute fucking element.
Yeah.
Like, I've just recently been watching the animated series again.
Yeah. To be fair, the animated Sabretooth is amazing.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I like that they weren't afraid to shy away from the in the anime. I know we were talking about movies, but this is one of many tangents that we'll go off.
Oh, hell yeah.
This, but I like that they weren't afraid to shy away with the fact that Sabretooth murdered Wolverine's missus.
Oh, yeah.
They actually have that whole flashback to Silver Fox and stuff.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
They straight out there, they did not give a shit. They were like, this needs to be told to make you understand just how vile this motherfucker is.
And he comes full circle because they used that for the Wolverine Origins movie, the fourth one in the series of films.
Which was
not as
the
good.
less we say about that one, I think. Origins is just...
There's some good spots, but...
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
Yeah, it was okay.
I think that the one constant, because there's been some good movies, there's been some bad movies, there's been some meh movies, but the one constant is that Hugh Jackman has never disappointed in any of them.
Oh, no.
So, like, Origins is like, when it's viewed as like one of the worst films, but Hugh Jackman's amazing in it. So no one actually faults Hugh Jackman for that, because Hugh Jackman's amazing all the way through that from start to finish. So it's one of them, isn't it?
You can have a good actor in a bad film and it still be a bad film.
Yeah, but you can also appreciate that actor was still great in that film, even though it was terrible.
I say this about going slightly off.
Well, I thought you were about to say Nick Cage.
Because it's recently the end of that season, the Halloween films.
Yeah.
Each of them with Donald Pleasance in, you can tell that guy is giving 110%, even though he knows the film is only worth about 5%.
Yeah.
You know, he's fully fucking committed to the part, and even though the film's shit, you enjoy his performance, and that's the same with Hugh Jackman, that no matter how bad the X-Men film is, you see him in it and you go, well, that was an interesting 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I want to tie that back to something that I was listening to over on a different channel earlier today,
How dare you?
The Calico Productions.
In that case,
where
it's
I was
allowed.
listening to episode 2 of the Transformers podcast.
I wonder who hosts that.
Why this is relevant is because you were on about the movies and how Shia LaBeouf was, and he's another example of he was a great actor, but he couldn't give a shit in most of his roles, including the Transformers films.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he can't give a shit. It shows. So. Yeah.
Nice little plug there.
I watch stuff.
In case you missed that, folks, that was Calico Productions.
You find them on YouTube, and that's pretty much it at the moment because I haven't done your RSS feed yet. I'm sorry, I'll sort that out soon.
I'm
in no rush. Ain't going nowhere.
I am. I'm in a rush. Sort it, Rory.
All right. I don't want to get off this. Oh dear. So first of many tangents.
So other characters from the first X-Men film.
Oh yeah, that's what we were saying. Thank you.
Yes.
I'd forgotten. That's why there was a pause. I'd forgotten what I was asking.
Thoughts on Mystique? How they handled her character in the first film?
First film, yeah, not bad.
I didn't see enough of her.
Well, you never see enough of her.
Well,
you see pretty much every shot of her there, to be fair.
In that costume, yes.
I think that the one thing that they suffer from is that there's all those characters on Magneto's Brotherhood and not enough time to flesh them out. So you've got Sabretooth, you've got Mystique, Toad, obviously. I mean, Toad, there's not a lot they could do with him based on his comic book thing where he is basically a stoogie, so fair enough.
Yeah.
But Sabretooth and Mystique are ones that have given the X-Men the run around many times on their own.
Yeah.
So they sort of, I think it was mainly just down to the fact that they needed a team of mutants to take on the X-Men, and so they're limited by default. But some of the stuff they did with Mystique I thought was great, like them mimicking Wolverine, the infiltrating the Senate and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Very on point.
That was cool.
I really hated what they did with the young Mystique though. And that's nothing. That's not a knock on Jennifer Lawrence and stuff.
Oh no, definitely.
I hated the character arc.
Yeah.
Another case of like you could be a good actor in a movie. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I didn't like the story arc with Mystique at all in the First Class trilogy.
No, same. I completely agree. It started off good, but then it just
it nosedived. The thing of it being the poster child for mutants that isn't Mystique in the slightest.
The thing that got me with that storyline with the First Class going from First Class onwards was the fact that they seemed to kind of at the end of each film kind of flip-flop backwards and forwards which way she was going. Like the end of the first film, she leaves with Magneto and Azazel. Then she comes back and she's all goody-goody again. Yeah. Then at the end of that film, she pisses off and starts being bad again, like taking Wolverine away. And
well, then she said, "No, she's flip flopped at the end as well, didn't she? Remember, because she went bad, then good, then bad, then good in that film."
Yeah, and it's just like pick a lane.
Yeah.
Pick a
more turns than the Big Show.
Fucking stick to it.
Definitely more turns than the Big Show. Yeah, agreed.
But no, it really does, that character arc, because for me it was just so back and forth. It was like, I don't care right now. You get to like Dark Phoenix, it's like, oh, you're dead. Oh.
Yeah, I know, and no one cared.
Yeah, it was. It was just like,
Dark Phoenix.
Spoiler alert, Mystique's dead.
Spoiler alert there, guys.
Thanks a lot, dude.
But somehow comes back to life in time for the year 2000 to join up with Magneto again.
Yeah. Lube.
Watching Deadpool the other day with my daughter, and the line just popped in my head. Stewart or McAvoy, these timelines are confusing.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've got to give a little hats off to Patrick Stewart.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. I mean, casting for the first film.
And Ian McKellen in the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those two together.
Oh, Dynamite's money.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll ask the pair of you this because for me it's a solid no. But is there anyone that you would have recast in that first film? Because for me, I thought they got it pretty much spot on for the time. Obviously, because
we
got to think it's 20 years ago as well. So it's different landscape of Hollywood, wasn't it? So
there's no real names that kind of pop in my head when I really have to kind of sit and consider that one. In later films, there are just some names you instantly go, yeah, that person should have played that character.
Yeah, like Channing Tatum and Gambit.
Yes.
Sure, we'll talk about that cancelled movie at some point during the course of the podcast. Maybe even this one. Who knows?
Yeah, but quite possibly. But no, like you, Rory, I don't think in just the first film, I don't think there's anybody that I would recast because they were all just characters they were given. They hit the mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the pair of you had to rank the X-Men movies, what would your top 5 be?
Ooh. Number 1 would be X-Men 2.
Yeah.
Number 2 would be X-Men 1.
Okay.
Which is, I know, but just go with me. I did actually like Days of Future Past.
Yeah, same here. That's one of my favourites, to be fair.
If you've seen the Rogue cut, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
Ooh, I've not seen that.
An extra 40 minutes of it, and it's really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
You know, the main deviation, you know, in Days of Future Past, there's a part where Wolverine's flailing around on the table in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It stabs Kitty Pryde.
Yeah.
Well, in the Rogue cut, what they do is because she's there bleeding and stuff, they go and bust Rogue out of prison so that Rogue can take Kitty's powers and take over, sending Wolverine into the past. But that's completely sort of missed on the normal cinematic and home release version, and they all she appears in that one is just in that end scene with the happy ending to go,
yeah,
hello Logan. That's it.
Yeah. So that's 3. Oh, blimey. I am going to put X-Men Origins Wolverine in at number 4 because I enjoyed it.
Fair enough.
I'll be the lone dissenter.
right.
5 is going to be X-Men 3. All right, it was a bit bobbins, but it's part of the main group of films, isn't it? So
It's the end of the trilogy and at the end of the story. Yeah. So yeah, fair enough.
We'll not mention
anything else.
Yeah,
fair enough. Gally, what about you?
I think for me, very much like Guy, I'd say I think 1 and 2 for me are kind of joint first and second place. They're kind of interchangeable because the first one kind of sets everything up and the second one just takes it to that next level.
Yeah.
You know, if you kind of watch them back to back, it's more like one big story and it's more enjoyable.
Well, yeah, they literally have the ends with Wolverine going off to find memories at Alkali Lake because
and the second one starts him coming back.
Second one shows him with his big bushy hair in the wind.
His Elvis look going on,
And then like, oh, there's nothing there. He comes back, Alkali Lake's empty, and Xavier's like, ha, you didn't try opening the door, did you, Logan?
Yeah, exactly. So the first 2 for me are kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
Then I have to say number 3 because
have you just realised you missed something?
Yeah, I missed Logan.
You did, yeah.
I
was thinking that.
Say for me,
Dick Award goes to
actually, number 1, Logan. I'm sorry, I gotta do it. Comparing the first X-Men to Logan, just no. I forgot about Logan as well, but they are part of the same continuity.
Yeah.
So Logan number 1, then number 1 and 2, then 3. First Class was all right because of what it was trying to do. It was basically trying to be a prequel to the first film, and I think its setting and some of the characters and the way it ended, if they hadn't have done any more, could have just been a prequel spinning up to the first film. So
which is how it sort of looked like they were going with that First Class. So
exactly,
I can understand that.
Yeah. So
they got Magneto's helmet
4.
right.
Number 5, I would have to say Apocalypse.
Yeah.
As much as I love Power Rangers, and this is no disrespect to Power Rangers, but Apocalypse from X-Men should not look like Ivan fucking Ooze from Power Rangers. You should not.
Yeah.
So that was my problem with that film.
Yeah, I wasn't that keen on Apocalypse, to be honest, but was good. The main thing that annoyed me about Apocalypse and then Dark Phoenix by default, Apocalypse ends with them all getting comic accurate suits. That's the last shot of the X-Men. Cyclops is there with the Jim Lee sort of style costume. Not exactly right because it's in silver and blue instead of the yellow and blue and stuff. And you've got Nightcrawler with the big white V on him and everything. And just like watching it thinking, oh, this is awesome. And Mystique's there with the actual frigging white swimsuit sort of thing going on.
Yeah.
And then Dark Phoenix comes around. Like, you like that? Well, we've put them back in those red and blue, those blue and yellow
jumpsuits.
Yeah, that was like really annoying.
Oh fuck no!
But yeah. So I mean, you guys have both done your top 5, so I'm going to throw mine out at you and see what you both think. For me, my favourite one's number 2. I remember going to the cinema. I was a big fan of X-Men around that time. Well, I've been a big fan of X-Men for fucking decades. But I remember going and seeing that at the cinema and being absolutely like blown away because I enjoyed the first one. And it was like, with hindsight and being older, and you can tell what they were going for. And it was like, yeah, they've taken the X-Men, they've tried to make it like for a wider audience. Fair enough. There's certain things that they can't do. Wolverine's not as bloodthirsty as he is in the comics because he can't be because of who they're aiming for. In this one, they had him have a full-on berserker rage in the mansion scene, and I was just sat in the cinema like, all excited. And Colossus has been one of my favourite characters. So, even though
just to interject there, Rory, you saying that it pops in my head the minute you said the bit where he goes nuts with his claws in the mansion. It's the bit when he stabs the guy into the fridge.
Yeah.
His hand away as the guy drops. There's actually 3 little claw marks in the fridge. I was like, yeah, that guy's dead.
Exactly. Yeah. That whole thing I just thought was amazing. I mean, I was a huge fan of X-Men around that time for the comics. I used to pick up anything I could. And I loved Colossus, and Colossus had recently been killed in the X-Men comics at that point. So I was like a bit gutted that they'd wiped out one of my favourite characters. And then in X-Men 2, he's like, hey, there's Colossus. Like, shit, there's Colossus. And like that, got all excited. And then he was just, then I got really upset after because he was just like Wolverine's like, yeah, you just go look after the kids while I fight everyone else. Like, oh, what a missed opportunity.
I know, right?
So, but overall, I thought X-Men 2 was great, and Deathstrike was awesome. How they used Mystique, I thought, was brilliant in X-Men 2. The whole thing with Magneto's plastic prison, I thought was awesome.
I love that.
Stryker, I loved. Oh, and I'll show you this because I've actually got it here in hand. This book here is Holy War, and it's Uncanny X-Men by Chuck Austin. Lots of people hate on Chuck Austin's run, but I will just show you this. You probably can't see this properly, but see the little guy in the wheelchair there?
Mm-hmm.
That's a random character that's only used in this story arc that can affect people's perceptions and stuff like that. And it's basically that one random character, which I can remember reading at the time, is then used in X-Men 2 as William Stryker's son.
Yeah.
Who's then influencing her. And I was watching that thinking, it's only had like 3 pages in an X-Men book, which is to hand. I can't believe it was within arm's reach for this. We hadn't even prepped for this episode. But yeah, so I was I was dead chuffed to see that character randomly turn up. It's not even got a name in that book either. So it's just, it's awesome. My second favourite, I'd say, probably Logan, because Logan's awesome, and we could probably do a podcast episode just about Logan because of how great that was, to be fair. And I'm a big fan of like the X-Force comics and the stuff that they did involving X-23. So I liked how they introduced her, and I liked that they actually did a thing of, there's one shot in there of X-23 where it's literally the cover of her first appearance, and they've got that whole thing like perfect.
Oh wow!
Like just randomly, one random shot is just shit. There's issue 1 of MYX, which was X-23's first appearance in the comics. So that was cool. Number 3, I'd say would be Deadpool 2, because I'd say Deadpool 2 more so. I mean, Deadpool I think is fantastic. I love both those films, but I wouldn't class the first Deadpool film as an X-Men film. That's just a film where there's a couple of X-Men in it.
Yeah.
But Deadpool 2, he's got like that whole thing with you've got Juggernaut, you've got Colossus and Juggernaut having a really good battle. You got Cable, you've got Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and her girlfriend Yuki. But that actually feels like an X-Men film.
Yeah,
for large portions of it and stuff. And so I think Deadpool 2 did a really good job of utilizing the X-Men characters, which is sad to say that the X-Men films, especially the prequels, not the original ones. The original X-Men films were great, but when they did the reboots, they sort of struggled with what to do with the characters. And the same studio was churning out the Deadpool films and going,
yeah.
But the guy who's writing Deadpool can do a really good X-Men film, but we're not going to get him to do an X-Men film.
Yeah.
And so I'd say Deadpool 2 is number 3 on my X-Men movies. All my list can change like at the drop of a fucking hat.
Well, this is the thing; it's fluid.
Yeah. Depending on mood, doesn't it? And what's fresh in my mind. Number 4, I'd say the director's cut version of The Wolverine, because that is next level.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Because that's done by the same person who did Logan. And have you both seen the director's cut one, the Unleashed edition? Where it's a higher age rating and everything. In fact, also to hand, because my Blu-ray shelf's literally there and it's there. So, Guy, I will lend you this. But basically,
nice one.
Yeah, it's awesome because it's not on any on-demand service, because all you've got on your on-demand stuff is the normal version.
Yeah.
But so the Unleashed version went from being like a normal all ages thing to being an R rating in America, and it was what James Mangold wanted to have for his Wolverine film. So more blood, more guts. When he's fighting the ninjas and stuff and going at them with his claws, you're seeing the claws out the other side instead of them like stopping and you're not being quite as visible on there. More blood. It's just generally good. Like they've added the effects in, and it looks better and it feels more like Wolverine. But as I mentioned before, I've read loads and loads of Marvel graphic novels leading into that film, and Frank Miller's Wolverine is one of my favourites. In fact, Frank Miller in general is one of my favourite comic book writers.
Miller's a king. Yeah,
I mean, Callie, you've got issue 1 of my comic, The Suit, and the introduction. I talk about how Frank Miller's a big influence on everything for me. And see, Foley's Law, cheap plug.
Yes.
So Frank Miller's Wolverine, the 4-part miniseries, is great, and it's Wolverine in Japan, and a lot of the elements of that were used and twisted to suit the Fox universe for this.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a good job of it, and just thoroughly enjoyed it. The only things that I didn't like was the CGI boss fight at the end. We could do without that. Yeah, the giant robotic Silver Samurai. Yeah. Especially when they got the character of the Silver Samurai running around helping Wolverine throughout there. They got Harada, haven't they, on like the rooftops and stuff. And helping him out. And you're like, you've got the Silver Samurai there. What are you doing? He's right there. Just what's going on? And,
put him in the suit.
Yeah. So that's my number 4. Number 5, Days of Future Past, Road Cut. That was a perfect melding of the two universes, and the future side of things showed some of the characters that I didn't think I'd ever see in film, like Bishop and Sunspot. Yeah. And we got Blink, and not just any version of Blink. It was the Age of Apocalypse Blink from the 90s crossover thing, and that's like amazing that they put her in there. So yeah.
Actually, this talk of director's cuts and stuff was just fired something off in my mind. Do you remember when Sky used to you buy a film, they'd send you a DVD?
Yeah.
When they did Logan originally, you could download it, but they also sent you the noir version in black and white.
That noir version.
I've got that on Blu-ray.
That in black and white is just so good.
Oh God, yeah.
It is.
Changes the tone of the film, especially when you get to the end.
Yeah.
That ending in black and white. Oh.
I've got to quickly mention something from Wolverine Unleashed. The Wolverine, purely because of you saying about that ending. I absolutely love the fact that they've got Yukio in there as a mutant that can see the future, and she tells Wolverine how she sees him gonna die, and basically I can see you. There's blood everywhere, and you've got your heart in your hand. And James Mangold's like, that's the end of Logan.
Yeah, that's the metaphor.
Because he's literally there, he's dying, he's told X-23 that he loves her and all that sort of stuff in his own way. And just like
that bit when she calls him daddy and he right before he dies he says, so this is what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's just,
I'll be honest, I actually got choked up at the cinema.
Yeah. Even just thinking
like multiple
about it,
times in that film, to be fair. In fact, you know what? That's going at number one spot. Fuck it. That's number one for my... That's,
I'm tearing up thinking of that.
There's bits that I forgot about,
Yeah.
so yeah, no, that can go to number one. I forgot my order, but yeah.
Yeah. See,
I remember...
Logan number one, I'm sorry. It may only have a couple of mutants in it, but my God, are they fucking awesome.
Yeah, I love the fact that they name-checked like X Factor and stuff like that in there, where where like the radio thing that X-23 is doing. He's like, she just said Richter. Are we going to see Richter? And then it's just some little kid got out. but there was cool stuff there, and I liked. As I said, when I saw it at the cinema, I saw it twice within the first week of it coming out. Unlike X-Men 3, I actually knew that I liked Logan when I went and saw it. I just went and saw it with different people because some of my friends were like, oh yeah, I want to see it. Like, I'll come with you.
Completely understandable on that one though.
Typically, they all can't. The reason why I went twice was the first time that I went to see it, they were supposed to go with me, and they got cancelled. It was my workmates and stuff, and
right.
And they were like, "Oh no, something's got to." One of them said something had come up, and he was the lift of the other one, so we ended up not going. But I still went, and then the next day, they were like, "Oh yeah, sorry we let you down." I was like, "Don't be, I still saw it." And they're like, well, you can't talk about it. I was like, "I'm not going to." Did you enjoy it? Yeah. Don't tell me anything about it. Well, should have gone. And then like 2 days later, they're like, right, we're going to go see it tonight. You come in? Like, yep, I'll come and see it again. Why is it that good? It's like, I'm not going to say, because if I tell you that it's amazing, you're going to go in there thinking it's amazing and then be disappointed because of your own expectations. So I'm just going to tell you it's a good movie to watch. And they enjoyed it. I enjoyed it the second time round. And well, I can't remember being choked up the first time I watched it. At certain points, there was the death of Xavier.
Oh,
yeah.
Because of him, so there was that. There was this bit. I don't know what it was, but it was the thing of, when he's all messed up, he can barely walk, and she gets him to the hospital, and then they get to where the mutants are, and they've got they've got a version of the mutant drug kick, which is what it's called in the comics, which boosts the powers temporarily and stuff. And they give it to him, and it boosts him up to get his healing factor going again. And then there's that point where they've all gone. He's like asleep, wakes up to find they've all gone, and sees that there's the line of military bastards going to hunt him down. And he just goes like next level and just starts pumping himself with as much of this kick that he can. And you get that thing at that moment where like you can see like a visible change in his demeanor and everything, and him just like proper leg it for it. I was there like, it's so amazing.
It was, yeah.
Just watching like, oh, this is so great.
But that movie had Richard E. Grant, so
yeah, Richard E. Grant's awesome in everything, to be fair.
Yeah.
And one thing as well that I thought was funny, because when I said about the Deadpool thing and studio not seeming to talk to each other, they did the wonderful thing of, for X-Men Apocalypse, they had the post-credit scene setting up the Sinister Corps, and that was because they wanted that to be a part of Logan. However, they didn't know, they didn't realise that James Manigault wasn't going to use that anymore.
Yeah.
Well, Essex Corporation, they called it, didn't they, in the post-credit scene? And it was in getting the DNA to make clones, essentially. So that was going to be the X-23 thing. However, and everyone thought that Richard E. Grant was going to be Sinister because he was an unknown character. And then it was just, no, we're not even doing that. But that was, the studio not having the rights to talk to each other. And another example in that same film was in X-Men Apocalypse. They have Caliban in the 80s, like speaking all weird and having like dealing with Psylocke and stuff like that. And then in Logan, it's Stephen Merchant. It's just like,
Which I did love him in that role.
He was great in that. I do just like completely threw me when you like within the first couple of scenes of Wolverine at his home, you've got Xavier going batshit crazy, and Stephen Merchant telling Wolverine that he's that he knows that Logan's got no plans for him when they go get the boat because all he's going to be doing is hiding underneath washing the underpants.
Oh, yeah. Sunseeker, clues in the fucking name, mate.
Exactly. Oh, dear.
Yeah. And Patrick Stewart telling Logan to fuck off. Oh,
Fuck off,
great.
Logan.
Yeah.
That did take me out of the film a little bit because I was just there going, Patrick Stewart just effed. What?
And the bit when he's complaining, like, I'm traveling across America. She's 10 years old. I'm 92, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
When Logan takes him to the bathroom, stop staring. I'm not fucking staring. Nobody wants to fucking see. I probably just going at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we also got like, when he's having his mind seizure in the hotel.
Oh yeah.
And that. They cut a scene from there, which would have been amazing if they'd have kept it in. Even though I know it wasn't your choice for Sabretooth, but they actually had a whole scene played out where we were going to supposedly see Logan when he goes off to get his car and all that sort of stuff. At that point, he doesn't just go to get his car. He was supposed to be going to visit Sabretooth to try and get him to help him out, and it was going to be Liev Schreiber's version.
Oh, right.
Right.
But then, scheduling conflicts meant that they couldn't do it. So they cut it.
That would have been cool though if he'd shown up. Even just that would have been.
It's like, I think the issue I have with Origins and stuff is that they tried too hard to put too many different origins in there.
Yeah.
Why have we got an origin of Wolverine's coat?
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to show you all how he got that jacket. Like, well, we just assumed he just, bought it.
I think the problem is it set up too many characters as well, because within the first 20 minutes and throughout the rest of the film, you've got Gambit, Blob,
Deadpool,
who else?
Kestrel. Kestrel, Deadpool, Rafe.
Yeah, exactly. It sets up so many characters that are going to get killed off throughout the film or just be in and out. It was just
crappy Deadpool.
Focused just on Wolverine.
It doesn't help that they had that really awesome opening sequence of them fighting throughout all those different battles in history, and it was just sat there like, I want more of that. Why can't we just have more of that?
Make a whole film where it jumps through time and you follow them each war. Stretch that out to 2 hours. I'd be happy with that shit.
Yeah.
Because you could have Wolverine encounter different heroes throughout history. I mean, in the comics throughout time, he's come across Captain America in World War II.
Yeah.
God knows who else. He's bumped shoulders with the first. He used to be part of Howling Commandos.
Yeah. He was part of Alpha Flight. He worked with the Howling Commandos, but only he was Canada, wasn't he? Canadian Special Forces, but he was he was their a special operative that would come and meet up with him for certain missions and stuff. Which was awesome. And there's a lot of stuff they could have done, but they didn't. And obviously, a lot of that comes down to movie rights and things like that too.
Yeah. I mean, if we go with the comic books, his true origin should have been him versus Hulk.
Yeah, well, that should have been his first appearance. Yeah. So there's all sorts of stuff that they had to miss because rights. So and you can't really fault them on that.
Of rights and all that kind of stuff. I suppose that leads us very comfortably.
It does, doesn't it?
The MCU.
It does.
Because now Fox is owned by Disney, so that means X-Men goodness is going to be coming to the MCU. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Bring it.
Some of the stuff I've heard of it is there's one where I've seen the rumors that they're supposedly doing a film called The Mutants and not calling it X-Men, and one where it's just called X. And apparently, it's because the studio executives, but this is rumor, and to be honest, I don't actually believe it because I don't think there's a problem there. But the studio executives are allegedly worried that calling it X-Men is excluding women. It's like, but it's been the team name since the 60s.
They can't. The X-Men still has women on the team.
Yeah, I know.
It's
the thing is, like, this is why I think it's probably like just clickbait adverts or whatever that that have gained too much traction. But it's like, for me, it wasn't a case of that being it wasn't X-Men as in like these are men that have all got the X gene. It was like the X was replacing the Hugh for humans sort of thing to me.
Yeah.
We're all I'm an X-Man. Like, and then men being the plural thing.
The comic book lore says it all. The X gene.
Yes.
What it's meant is to represent the X gene, and they are mutants.
Yeah.
I mean, oh God, Jesus Christ! But anyway, let's hope that the execs over at Disney, Kevin Feige, and all that lot handle it nicely, because I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think the next phase of the MCU should not be this Eternals bullshit that they're pushing at the minute, because what I've seen of it, I've just gone, meh.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see them set up X-Men versus the Avengers.
Yeah, but at the same time, they haven't got many Avengers left to face them.
Well, they could make the new Avengers. They could. There's plenty. I mean, they've started messing around with the multiverse bullshit. Yeah, I know. Now, so,
well, the thing is, with them doing the multiverse thing, I'm sort of hoping that we get Hugh Jackman come back that way. We get like a multiversal X-Force or something like that come through, and it's
or just Wolverine versus Deadpool.
Yeah. Well, this is that they can do it now.
That will make me very happy.
I mean, the rumor about that, because Deadpool 3 is the first mutant character to movie that's been announced, isn't it? Because that was they had Ryan Reynolds and Marvel co-announced that was definitely happening, and so he was crossing over, and it was just carrying on from Deadpool 2, but in the MCU instead. Yeah. And apparently, the big rumor there is that Deadpool, because of his breaking the fourth wall thing, he's going to be aware that he's in a different film franchise. Which I think is awesome.
That could definitely lead to some very good jokes from
like literally him complaining about how come there's no blood coming out of these guys? It's almost as if I've been put into the MCU and all that sort of stuff.
Well, it's like that jab in Deadpool 2, isn't it, when Cable gets old and he says, "So dark, are you sure you're not from the DC universe?"
Yeah.
Like
jokes like that are going to come.
And there was the wonderful "Zip it Thanos" line as well, isn't it?
Yeah, "Zip it Thanos." I love that line. "Zip it Thanos." First time I heard it, I was like, "Well, shit."
One thing that I quite like the idea of is, Josh Brolin signed one of those multi-picture deals with Marvel.
Yeah.
And obviously played Thanos and then Cable in the Deadpool films. He signed on for it was announced years ago that he'd signed on for multiple films when he appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Apparently, I remember reading this at the time. It was like, he signed on for 7 movies. Well, it was in Guardians. Technically, Avengers 2, if you want to count that post-credit scene, but I don't think that properly count. And then Infinity War and Endgame, and he was rumoured to be in Eternals, but I don't know whether he has been or not because I've not seen it yet.
Yeah.
But that means that Josh Brolin's still got a few movies on his contract. So if they don't want to go the route of just having a different version of Thanos turn up, bring him back as Cable. Do Cable again.
Yeah, cool.
Or, hear me out, pure insanity, both.
Yeah, well, yeah, could do both. Yeah, could easily do both. Yeah. But I mean, they could just bring him back as Cable as well, because he's got the deal already in place.
Oh yeah, and plus, I think he nailed the character really.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like the Hugh Jackman Wolverine thing. Hugh Jackman was so good as Wolverine that you can't picture anyone else playing him.
Nope, can't do it.
And the same as how Ryan Reynolds is perfect as Deadpool, so you can't picture anyone else as Deadpool. And Brolin's that good as Cable that you probably wouldn't be able to picture anyone else doing that character too. So.
No, couldn't. Although I don't know, we've got all this technology now. Could Jackman do it and just CG the muscles?
Probably.
Or wear a muscle suit, get the classic costume on the go.
Literally, we get behind the scenes thing, and he's going to Argos to get one of those Wolverine fancy dress parties.
Yes.
With a big fluffy bag. That'd work.
Suppose that leads us on to talking about casting then, doesn't it?
Yes.
Really?
I mean, I'm going to incite Foley's Law once more. When I spoke to Cal Dodd last year, notice how many shout-outs he's getting in this episode.
Yeah.
At the time, the big rumor was Taron Egerton to be the next Wolverine. From Rocket Man and Kingsman.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the Kingsman?
No.
The first one.
Yeah, he's the main one from Kingsman. So I think the young lad in that. But he was rumoured, and we actually spoke to Cal Dodd about it, and he was like, actually, yeah, I could see him being a really good Wolverine. Like, well, I've got no argument now. The voice of Wolverine just said that guy. Okay, fair enough. I can't. Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm not saying no, but I don't see it myself, really. I mean, I'm not saying he couldn't do it. He could put on the bulk and whatnot, but looking from what I remember him looking like in the Kingsman, he's too pretty boy.
Yeah, I guess. But he's also he's short, like the comic book version, and he's got a big ass jaw, hasn't he? So you've got the bonus of it might suit to like some stubble and sideburns. You never know, but could happen. It depends how they go with it. He's got enough of a wide shaped face to play around with, all fuzzy felts.
Fuzzy felts.
But personally, I can't see anyone other than Jackman playing Wolverine. To be fair, and
no,
yeah, it's just how do you introduce it? Yeah. I mean, Xavier, for example, Patrick Stewart I thought was brilliant, and then McAvoy I thought was great as well.
Yeah.
But at least with those, you were like, well, McAvoy's playing a young Patrick Stewart, so fair enough, and that was acceptable that he's going to turn into a Patrick Stewart. So that was like, that wasn't really one taken away from the other to a degree because of like the age thing. But I think if they had anyone as Xavier now that was anyone other than those two, then they're going to struggle. Unless they had someone like, say, Tom Strong. Tom Strong probably has the right sort of look for Xavier, but not quite as much as the previous Xaviers. So
yeah,
completely agree.
Yeah, anyone that either of you would like to see in an X-Men movie?
Tom Hardy as Cyclops.
That would be cool, but they've just had Tom Card. Shit! Spoiler alert! Have either of you seen the new Venom film?
No.
Do either of you mind if I tell you what happens in the post-credit scene?
No.
Yes.
No.
You do? Okay.
I do want to see it. I do want to see it. So
Callie, just put your fingers in your ears.
I'm still gonna fucking hear it.
Okay.
I'll watch the episode back and I'll piss and see it, won't I?
That's fine. Can I just tell you the post-credit scene? It doesn't affect the film. It's just that it affects future films. Venom jumps into the MCU in the post-credit scene. Wakes up in this day. He literally his room shakes and all this sort of stuff, and then all of a sudden he's like transported into a different room, and the TV's on, and it's got Tom Holland's Spider-Man unmasked on there in another.
I was just about to say, is that going to tie into?
They literally have Venom lick the TV screen and go, he looks tasty.
Oh, right.
So okay. Great.
Fair enough then, but that's actually kind of cool. I'm glad that they've actually now tied it into. That's clever. Cleverly done. So
he wasn't in the MCU, but now he is by default.
Okay, right. So now you can't have him playing anybody then.
Yeah, this is it, because I've seen like some of the fan mock-ups for Tom Hardy as Wolverine, and to be fair, you can sort of see Tom Hardy as a good Wolverine based on his appearance, but because of Venom.
Tall.
Yeah, so was Jackman. Jackman was taller than anyone else.
Yeah, true.
Whereas in the comics and the animated series and everything, he's a short ass.
Yeah. But we'll forgive the Jackman anyway.
Yeah, because Jackman was so great. To be fair.
Jackman, if you're out there, I'll hurt your boy.
This might be a bit of an out there, bit of a stretch one. But I'd like to see Magneto played by Charles Dance.
Oh, ooh, yeah, Charles Dance. Charles Dance would be a good elderly Magneto. Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. Like the Magneto you see in the very first film. Like if it wasn't Ian McKellen playing it, I think Charles Dance back then could have done a good Magneto against Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
I think if you get the right Magneto, you've got to get the right Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
the right Professor X.
It's bizarre because like when they went for Ian McKellen as Magneto, you could sort of understand it because they wanted to go for the route of his comic book origins as a Holocaust survivor, and so you're like completely fine with Ian McKellen being Magneto because of the age, because obviously that was set in the year 2000. Well, set in the future after the year 2000, wasn't it? It literally it starts with that little screen flash up saying in the not too distant future or something, doesn't it? On the very opening thing on the first X-Men film.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, fair enough. That it's been 50 years since he was a prisoner of war. Okay. Well, not 50, it's been like 60 something. So I suddenly forgot maths. so it's been like 60 years since he's been a prisoner of war. Fair enough that he's Ian McKellen. But like in the comics and stuff, especially over the last 10, 20 years, he's been like rejuvenated. And so he's like, you could see someone that's like in the 40s play him because of how he looks in the comics, which is crazy, really. Because
well, then you could bring in Fassbender.
Yeah, you could bring in Fassbender with his wonderful Shakespearean Magneto performances.
I like Fassbender.
Oh, I know. It's just like they actually gave him like the full on. They were like, we've got an English Shakespearean actor on here. Why aren't we giving him Shakespearean stuff? Like, because he's Magneto. Yeah, but we should give him something. And then they do that whole thing, don't they, in Apocalypse, where his family die in the woods and he's there just like drops to his knees. Is this all that you want of me? Is this all that I am? Just does that like properly. Yes, he's been in the theatre.
Careful, because now that it's all part of Disney, if they ever reshot that scene, he'd break into song.
Oh my God.
His dead daughter would start dancing with the birds in the trees. A little bit too far there.
X-Men, the musical. You heard it here first. Galley's gone. Got her again.
Yeah, I need to engage with Bray before I say something.
I've got the purple suited Magneto from the cartoon in my head, just dancing around the forest, singing with birds chirping around. It's just going on in my head.
It wouldn't really work though, would it? Because Walt Disney was was a big, massive anti-Semite, wasn't he? He was a big racist. So
yeah, that's true.
True.
Unless they defrosted his head for the new X-Men film to have him fight Magneto.
Too many fillings in your teeth.
Come back, you bastard! I'll bite your ankles.
In terms of seeing the X-Men integrated into the MCU, what sort of route would either of you like them to take?
I'd like them to take the same kind of route that they took with the animated series, to a certain extent, like have it focus on one mutant at the beginning that gets introduced to the team, and then the films and whatnot expand from there.
Which X-Men 1 sort of followed that formula of as well, didn't they? So
yeah, and then you can spin the characters off into their own movies, kind of reverse what they did with the Avengers, where a couple of the characters had their own films, then they brought them all together, and then they all went off and did their own thing again.
Yeah,
I think they could do something similar with X-Men if they handle it right and they use the right characters. Like I said, if they approach it like the animated series, where you've got a young new mutant gets introduced to this world of mutants, it's like, oh right, okay, well now we're getting to see these characters we know and love.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. To be fair, that I could see that working. Guy, have you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I know what I'd like to see now. Okay, open your minds here, really wide. Open them up. I'd like to see him do Alpha Flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Kick off with an Alpha Flight Disney Plus series or something, and give them like a full,
that's the thing.
Full run building up Wolverine that way. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
It's worked for Star Wars, hasn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah. To be fair,
Mandalorian was fantastic.
Well, even a lot of the MCU stuff is branching out into series now with WandaVision, Loki.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and there's been some really good series. Like
Exactly. So they could always do an X-Men film and then do series as supporting the characters on a side note. You know, sort of what's happening between films. That could be really interesting. So I think the book and the door really is wide open for what could be done with X-Men. But again, like I said earlier, they've got to be so careful with the characters they choose because there's going to be some big names and they're going to want to use just to get the fans in.
Yeah.
At the same time, you need those background characters that you may not know, but once you get to know them, you'll fucking love them.
Yeah.
So that's my thought. Anyway, carry on.
No,
you were saying Alpha Flight guy.
Yeah, Alpha Flight would work. I think Alpha Flight would work.
Puck.
Yeah.
I mean,
Peter Dinklage as Puck.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, he could be forgiven for being like because he would be the crossover actor from like the Fox films to the MCU by default as well.
Yeah, exactly. He plays Trask.
But like, but also he's already been in the MCU, but as a giant, so you could also just be like, don't worry about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he was that made on that you could sort of get away with it, I would have thought. But
that would be awesome. Peter Dinklage's Puck.
Well, he's a great actor.
Yeah, I think he'd be awesome. Yeah,
he's the right size.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not to denigrate the little people. But...
No, but it's true. I mean, you need actors like that to play parts like that sometimes.
Yeah.
The thing is, as well, Alpha Flight had that thing of they weren't all necessarily mutants, but you had enough ties into the mutant world that it could be a really good way of introducing.
Really, wasn't it? Because
they had North Star and his sister Aurora.
Yeah, and
those two, they were mutants.
What was his name? Sasquatch, was it? The big
Sasquatch, but he was a lab accident sort of thing. He was part of like the same sort of thing as the Hulk. So like in the more recent Immortal Hulks, they're tying him in a lot more with that because of his radiation-based Hulkage sort of thing.
Exactly. So that ties it into the MCU because if it's the same kind of research along the lines of Dr. Banner,
because we've already seen that shit happen in the MCU.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it can happen.
Yeah. So that would be. I think that would be a really good starting point actually, because then they can get their way down to it.
And then Vindicator's essentially Captain Canada. You know what I mean? It's like
exactly.
And because of the Black Widow film where they introduced the Red Guardian, it shows that other countries are doing their own version.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in the trailers.
Yeah, he is in the trailers. You do see him in the trailers, so.
Oh, fuck you both. Jesus.
And you know,
later, you can buy me a drink first.
Why haven't you seen it yet, guy? I'm ignoring that. Why haven't you seen Black Widow yet, guy? It's free on Disney Plus.
I know. I just don't have time.
Fair enough.
I'm in a band and I'm a parent, and
you've got to do these on every Sunday when you've like the few hours that you have free. We spend chatting to you about shit.
Yeah. And Doctor Who's back on, so.
Well, I don't watch normal TV. Fuck the BBC.
Fair enough.
I'm not paying you £175 to watch one channel. Go fuck a piano leg.
A piano leg?
Yeah.
So you've got
Okay.
To be fair, then you've got Shaman, who's the Canadian mystical guy.
Mm-hmm.
Tie that in by the fact that you've got Doctor Strange, where they show all those different magicians on camouflage and stuff in the first Doctor Strange movie. Do you know what I mean? Shaman could have easily been a background character.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's very true. So
you could justify Alpha Flight easily, and then just have North Star and Aurora be there by default. There's Snowbird, who I don't think Snowbird was a mutant as such, was she? Wasn't she like cursed or something? And she was the one that could turn into different animals, but they were all pure white because racism.
It was blending in with the snow in Canada.
Yeah.
But I think she had a similar sort of curse to the Wendigo thing, which was very much Alpha Flight territory.
I'm not 100% because I didn't really focus on Alpha Flight too much, but when they popped up in the comic books and when they popped up in like the animated series and things like that, I knew who they were.
Yeah. But it's like they could, if they do the mini-series, I know I'm stepping all over your idea, sorry, guy. But like,
go ahead.
Let's say they did the same sort of length that they do in Loki and everything, where it's roughly 10 episodes. And you establish Alpha Flight in the first couple of episodes, you haven't taken on a few big bads. When it gets to episode 7, you have friggin' Vindicator going out and hunting in the woods, and he comes across a feral Wolverine.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing, because that's what happens in the comics and what happened in the animated series. They find the feral Wolverine, they nurse him back to health. The very last episode, he's suited up and part of the team.
Yeah,
and we get that yellow costume that everyone's wanted in a film for 20 years.
Which there is actually the deleted scene of that for the.
Well, it's the brown one, isn't it? In the Wolverine thing.
Well, you don't really see too much of it in the.
No, but it's got brown gloves.
It's enough.
Yeah, he lifts it up and it's got the mask and it's got the gloves, and you're just like, oh,
yeah, I know.
They should have kept that in.
I know.
Yeah,
that would have been amazing.
Delete that.
See,
here's a controversy for you. Jumping off of the Fox X-Men.
Yeah.
I'd really like to see them for the MCU version of Wolverine be the X-23 Wolverine.
That could work, depending on how they did it. Because, what I was going to suggest for how I'd like to see them integrated that would work with that. Because I'd like them to go with the route of just saying, but they've always been here. And just do it like, not necessarily, they don't have to have the same actors or anything like that, but to go the route of saying, like, have either of you read any of the Ultimate X-Men comics?
A couple, not many.
Yeah.
Well, in the first volume, the first 6 issues, the last thing ends with a big battle with Magneto, where Charles Xavier convinces the entire world that Magneto's dead, and he's not. Charles Xavier is actually trying to rehabilitate him on the sly, and giving him a whole personality makeover because of how powerful he is. But he's convinced the world that they've seen Magneto die. If he can convince them that, the X-Men could have had something happen to him, say 20 years ago, and they've been in hiding ever since or whatever, and he's just convinced the world that they don't exist.
Yeah.
Have you both watched WandaVision?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the way that ends, I think that's kind of setting up a similar idea to what Rory just said.
That's the Darkhold that they go with at the end of that, isn't it? So
yeah, but it's the way she's. They say now that she can literally like create reality. I've got a feeling that the MCU is going to use that as a get out of jail free card. Basically, just go. She made them.
Yeah.
Oh, they could do, but
it's quick and convenient, and it kind of makes sense because the
other thing was they showed that she'd already got the power in the flashback scene. Because they had the Mind Stone reacting to everyone that they put in front of it when they showed that. They had that happen, and it only awakened her and her brother, but so many people before, it just
obliterated,
just killed them. Whereas then there was something special about them already. And then you've got Agatha saying, oh, it's because she was the Scarlet Witch, blah, 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 blah. But what if it's because they had recessed mutant genes?
Yeah, and because they've now started messing, like we said earlier, messing around with the multiverse and timelines and things like that. It could just be an easy snap of the fingers for Scarlet Witch and go, oh, well, mutants exist in this reality now.
Yeah.
I think that is honestly the way they might handle it, because it's quick, it's easy, and you don't need any setup. You can just literally be, she's made them, we'll take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, they could do, but then it's like they've all got to reach a certain age to be able to have that sort of experience. If you're going to have Wolverine in there, it's going to be a bit crap if they go, right, this is Wolverine, but this is the first time we're seeing him, and the first time he's got his power, so all his character history can't happen.
Maybe it's a merging of two realities then, the X-Men reality.
Yeah, that could happen. And the thing is, how they've done it with Loki and the fact that we've got Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness coming up.
And the new Spider-Man.
And the new Spider-Man. Pardon, guy?
Can't wait for that.
And Sam Raimi's directed it.
I know.
Yeah, apparently it's going to be the MCU's first horror movie, which I'm looking quite forward to, because it then sets up everything nicely for Blade.
Exactly.
Neither of you want to see Eternals, do you? You were saying earlier.
No, I never read the
Disney Plus. I'm not paying money to see it.
Can I spoil post-credit scenes for you both?
Yes.
I don't know anything about the film. I know about the post-credit scenes.
Go on then.
Because the first one's a bit of a shocker. So, spoiler alert if you're watching this and you're about to see it.
Yeah. If you don't want to know, skip ahead.
Skip ahead by like by 3 seconds and still get it spoiled anyway.
Yeah.
But essentially, so the first one in there is they show Star Fox, which is the brother of Thanos, but he's played by Harry Styles. So, yeah. But it's a character that's confusing because he essentially got outed as the character being a borderline rapist.
Right.
Because his power was to induce pleasure in people. So, like, people would instantly want to do the beast with two backs with him, sort of thing. And it was in the She-Hulk run where, because she was the superpowered lawyer and taking on superpowered cases, one of them was where some women had decided they wanted to sue Star Fox because he was also an Avenger. Oh,
shit, yes, I remember hearing about that,
Yeah, and it was because they were basically like, yeah, I was married. One of them was like, yeah, I was married, but the second I met him, I forgot all about my husband, all about my kids and all this sort of stuff. And just went off to be part of his like 20-day orgy or whatever. And yeah, that's it. And they had the thing where She-Hulk's defended him, saying, no, he's not like that way. And then halfway through the story arc, she's like, why do I feel strange? Are you trying to do something to me? And it turns out that he's doing it subconsciously without even being aware of it or something.
Yeah.
But it's still like, it's a bit of a dodgy character to introduce when that's his main thing. And the fact that he's Thanos' brother, why introduce him after Thanos has been killed?
Yeah, it's a bit stupid.
They could just not introduce him. They don't need to do Star Fox. There's many characters that they could do.
Yeah.
Instead.
Galactus, for fuck's sake, they need a cosmic threat.
Yeah. But then the other post-credit scene, which is sounds fantastic, has the Black Knight, who's played by Kit Harington, going for the Ebony Blade, which is what gives him like the boost of the powers and stuff in the comics. And the person talking to him, you don't see him, but the voice is Mahershala Ali, the guy who's playing Blade. So you get a Blade cameo at the end of Eternals.
Oh, okay. That's still not worth sitting through 2 hours.
But the post-credit scenes, we've got that, so that's pretty cool.
Yes, I'm looking forward to Blade. Blade was always.
I don't want to see Blade recast.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I love Blade in the Spider-Man cartoon. I love the Wesley Snipes films.
Yes.
Blade was definitely my very early introduction into vampires in comics.
Yeah.
I read like Interview with the Vampire and things like that beforehand, but then when I saw Blade, I was like, oh shit, there's vampire comics.
I think we also need to give like a massive shout out to the 90s Spider-Man cartoon now, because
we do. Yes, we do.
Because like the Blade that we saw prior to that cartoon, Blade in the comics was used every now and again, and he had an afro and a bright green shirt and goggles and stuff like that. And then when they introduced him going after Morbius in the 90s Spider-Man series, they made him more of a biker. He got the flat top and everything. And I think that series essentially laid the groundwork for the Wesley Snipes Blade.
Oh hell yeah, definitely. You can see there's a lot of design elements in that cartoon iteration of Blade.
Yeah.
Like even the character of Whistler was actually made just for the show,
and
that made it into the comics and the films purely based off the show. So there you go. The success of the character proves it.
Yeah. Definitely. So maybe we should change this from an X-Men podcast to just a general Marvel podcast in the future. Possible. So we'll still call it the X-Men podcast.
The X-Men podcast.
So 3 will be the X-Men and Marvel podcast.
Yes.
Because there's so much. I know we could just get one about X-Men, but there's so many other things we could just chat about.
I was actually flicking through my comics the other day because my daughter turned around to me and she said, I really want to read some Deadpool comics. And I was like, I think I have one somewhere. So I had to dig around and I actually found from the 25th of June, 2008.
Yep.
Wolverine and Deadpool.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's quite impressive. And Essential X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh, Psylocke.
The 11th of June, 2008. I completely forgot I had these. And it's actually one of the issues that's midway through the House of M storyline.
Yeah.
Where Scarlet Witch has blinked most mutants out of existence.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that. It's that story right there.
Well, I mean, I've shown you all my shelf of comics before, but I'm just going to temporarily mute myself and step away from the call, so so I can quickly grab you something that I am actually going to lend you for your daughter's sake. So 2 seconds.
Cool. It's back to the Callie and Guy show.
Oh yeah.
So Transformers. No.
Yeah. Shit, wrong show.
We've got our own multiverse.
Yeah.
We got a multiverse.
Oh, could you imagine a crossover?
Oh, love it.
Megatron fighting a Sentinel.
Oh, Megatron. Kick its ass.
You know that I sent you guys the picture of the store I was in Birmingham where they got that massive Power Rangers display.
Oh, yes.
Next to it was Transformers, and they got the X Jet.
Oh, X-Band.
With the miniature Wolverine and Sabretooth figures and stuff like that with it.
Yeah.
So I will lend you these because these are awesome. This was these are the first 3 volumes of the more recent Deadpool.
Oh, cool.
And although I've just shown them in the wrong order, that's volume 3. This is probably my favourite Deadpool graphic novel of all time.
I see Captain America kicking Deadpool in the face.
No, what it is, it's called the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and it basically is Deadpool teaming up with them because of what it basically explains why he's been so hit and miss with his continuity over the years, and why there's certain times where people have convinced him that he's not Wade and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And essentially the story is that some of the old Weapon Plus program people have been keeping tabs on him over the years, drugging him every now and again and removing parts of him. and like conducting more experiments on his tissue and stuff like that. Yeah. But because they like drugging him and stuff, and then the reason why he finds that out in here is that as part of the first 2 volumes, Dead Presidents and Soul Hunter, he ends up with a shield agent trapped in his brain. Right? Because, this is the wonderfulness of Deadpool comics and how cool they can be. And so he gets drugged and everything, but she's still conscious inside his head. So he's completely aware of what's happening. And it turns out that, so they now know that he knows that it's going on. So they come after him hard. And he finds out that it's the Weapon Plus people. So the first person he goes to is Captain America, and then he goes to Wolverine as well. Oh. And then he essentially ends up having this whole dream here, which is awesome. So I'll just show you. This is basically a few pages of him, Cap, and Wolverine smashing everything up, and then it just reveals at the end of it that he's actually still under where they've caught him again. So he's just imagining that they helped him.
Nice.
But they are actually in this camp, and the camp is located in North Korea.
Oh.
North Korea is harvesting organs and powers and stuff, and they've basically made their own version of the next generation of X-Men. So they've got their own, a North Korean Wolverine and
is it because they're wrong
stuff, but they're all using Deadpool skin grafts and stuff, so that they took to the powers. So they've all got the same skin problem as him. And so then Cap, Wolverine, and Deadpool basically take on the North Korean army. And it all sounds hilarious, but it's probably the most serious Deadpool story I've read. And it's just really well written for saying it's as outlandish as I've just made it sound. It's a really good story, but it's volume 3 of that Deadpool run, and it's annoying because that's the only one of them that I wanted. But then it was sat on my shelf with the 3 at the bottom, and I'm gonna have to get 1 and 2 at some point. So I've ended up with 1 and 2 just so that it doesn't look odd on my shelf. But I will lend you the 3 of those so that you can have a read, so that your daughter can, because they are awesome. So
thank you very much.
No problems, and that is a really good start. A really good place to start with Deadpool comics, which ties into the episode because X-Men and all that.
Yes, it all ties in together. It's all part of the same thing.
It's part of the Team Venom, Marvel, and X-Men podcast.
Deadpool was an X-Man at one point. It counts.
Yes, although it was never on the core team of X-Men, was it? Then Cyclops has made a point of telling him repeatedly, "No, you weren't." But then they did the Uncanny X-Force, where Wolverine drafted him as a member of the X-Men. Of X-Force, which was part of the X-Men family. So, and that Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender, if neither of you have read that is a fantastic series.
I'll look out for that.
your team is basically you'll like this because you mentioned of Psylocke earlier. The core team is Wolverine, Deadpool,
nice,
Psylocke,
nice,
Archangel, and Phantom X. Which Phantom X is from the Grant Morrison run, and it was used sparingly prior to that, and then they sort of gave him like the limelight in that series.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really good little team. And the very first thing they do is the first volume is them. They're basically doing preemptive things to stop stuff from happening to Xavier's.
Yeah.
So they're getting whiffs of certain plans, and they're trying to snuff them out before anything can happen. And they're the team members that aren't afraid of doing the dirty work. So the very first volume is called The Apocalypse Solution, and it's where they found that Apocalypse is being cloned because he gets cloned into a new body every so many years.
Yeah.
And, they basically go to kill this clone, and spoiler alert and everything, they do, but it's a kid.
Yeah.
So then you have to think like
I've heard that.
Follows on from that, where they're all sort of at odds with each other because they're like, yeah, well, this is what we said we were going to do, and some of them are like, yeah, but Deadpool especially is like, yeah, but I didn't sign on to kill a kid.
I was going to say, wasn't that? I remember before Deadpool 2 came out, there was rumors that the kid who was Fire Fist, people originally thought that he was basically going to be like Kid Apocalypse. Basically.
Okay.
That was the rumor I heard before Deadpool 2 came out. And I was
I remember, hearing that.
That's why I researched it, because I was like, I've never heard of Kid Apocalypse. What the fuck's this? So I did a little bit of research, and it came up with that storyline. And I was like, that's an interesting take. So,
definitely. Well, I think we can finish it there.
Yeah.
It is. So
we'll be going for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, so we shall sign off here, people. And thank you for another great episode, everybody. We're going to sign off. So it's goodbye from Callie.
Bye.
It's goodbye from Rory.
And it's goodbye from him.
Exactly. So
I
yeah,
can't believe that like you've been setting up those Walkman Boys goodbye things, and Callie's just not even fed into those on your Transformers ones. I was like watching it. I was like, guys setting up the Morecambe and Wise thing. Or two Ronnies or whatever.
Whenever I think of Morecambe and Wise, I just think of Squat and Baboo sat in bed drinking cocoa.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that, to be fair, especially in this day and age.
Exactly.
So I don't know why you're being so Squat and Baboo phobic.
It's not phobic, it's nobody shares my view.
No. Okay, everybody. It's been
great.
Night,
everyone.
We will see you very soon on the Team Venom X-Men podcast, and incorporating the Marvel Universe now, seeing as we've had a production meeting on there.
And what I also want to quickly throw out before we go is this is our last stop before Comic-Con, as the three of us will be attending the MCM Comic-Con next weekend. So the next proper videos that you see on here will more than likely be bits and pieces from there.
Yes.
So yeah.
And
obviously if you're
sorted fucking about.
This is it, yeah. And if you're going to the MCM Comic-Con and you're watching this and you see us wandering around, we'll be in these shirts. Guy and Gally have their own ones, which are on my shelf that I haven't given to them yet, but I will do prior to the Comic-Con. So
it would help.
It would help. So, so yes. So it should be a good one. And find us, grab our attention, ask us for selfies or whatever. Tell us that you love us, and it'll be wonderful.
Yes, it would.
Do not be afraid to tell us that you love us.
Oh yeah. Unless it's in a creepy kind of way, then maybe keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what? Even if it's in a creepy kind of way, we appreciate it. If you're helping our YouTube channel get the numbers that we need, then fair enough.
Fair enough. Ladies, Rory's single.
You fucking want.
Sort of, guy. It's sort of a grey area at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Indeed. So,
right.
Somebody's getting some. Right,
not yet, but nearly.
Good night, everyone.
Yes.
Probably not now that I've said that on this. I already know she watches the show. Oh, I'm sorry.
And it's gone like that.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna. Yeah, let's.
Okay, shall I do the sign off?
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah. Say goodbye.
Okay, then we'll see you soon, everyone. Take it easy. We'll be back. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.